You want to know why journalism is dead? Because every single one of these prostitutes is working on every single street corner in the DC cesspool. The quicker we realize it is us versus them, the quicker it's going to be to defeat these globalist scumbags. They, them, he, his, she, her. I got 3 pronouns for you. You want to know what they are? Go f*** yourself.
Here's the left's most hated conservative voice, Josh Bernstein.
Welcome back to the program. Why do companies go woke? If they know that they go woke, they know that they could go broke because they are alienating their client base. The people that they sell their products and services to don't agree overall with their positions, their politics, and their ideologies, right? So you have to ask yourself, why would a corporation, a large corporation that makes millions, billions of dollars, why would they then risk everything in order to go woke and possibly go broke? Well, as I always say, follow the money, right? And this is another case of that. But is it possible that every one of these CEOs of these major, Fortune 500 companies are all left-wing radical extremists? Did they all go to college and learn to hate their country and hate capitalism and are all communists and believe in the Pinko Mafia and transgenderism and pride and all this other stuff? Of course not, okay? Corporate America is and always has been, for the most part, in management and in CEOs, it has been much more conservative. Why? Well, because they believe in capitalism. They believe in making profit. So why all of a sudden now would they change that? Well, to give you a little bit of perspective on perhaps why, again, it's another follow the money. But before I break that in and get down into that, there's a whistleblower, I guess you can call him, or a former employee of Anheuser-Busch that has come forward now that he's no longer working with the company and explains why these corporations, quote unquote, go woke. Woke corporate governance often stems from involved investment firms, which we're going to get into, says former Anheuser-Busch executive. A former Anheuser-Busch executive blames a handful, and again, it is a small handful of hedge funds and asset management companies for the divisive corporate policies that cost his former employee, Anheuser-Busch, billions of dollars. His name is Anson Frericks, F-R-E-R-I-C-K-S, and he remarked during an interview with Fox News host Jesse Waters that many social governance policies emanate from money managers, and in particular, he named 2, BlackRock and Vanguard. And we're going to break that down here in just a second, okay? So corporate advocacy of the LGBTQ whatever agenda has fomented boycotts, of course, that cost Anheuser-Busch more than $15 billion. Stocks of retailers like Target and Kohls have recently tanked after, again, amplifying their support for the LGBTQ community and, of course, the subsequent protests that ensued. Woke corporate governance, which recently led to the fiscal hemorrhaging at Anheuser-Busch and Target, often begins with investment firms pressuring these companies and corporations to behave in a certain way and manner, a former executive of the beer conglomerate has said. Frederick says a lot of the lead up to the decision, such as the one of his former firm involving transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney, that led to a nationwide boycott of Bud Light, stems from the politicking of firms like the New York-based BlackRock and the Pennsylvania-based Vanguard. Although BlackRock, Vanguard, and other firms like State Street Capital manage over $20 trillion in capital. There's your answer, folks. You want to know why these companies go woke? Because they don't care, honestly, about profits. Maybe we're going to hopefully get them to start caring, because these companies that own them and are just infusing cash, as I said a couple of weeks ago, there's got to be somebody funding this stuff. Why else would they do this? Why would they commit financial suicide day after day after day? And they see what happens. And I said, there's got to be somebody funding it. I thought maybe it was the government, maybe the government doing a secret kickback. And who knows, maybe that still could be the case. But here we are finding out that these major asset management companies, over $20 trillion in capital. Think about how much money that is. $20 trillion. Noting that it is not truly their money, but that of the investments of Americans' mutual funds and state pension funds. So technically, we have the power to stop wokeness by who we invest with. And many of these companies, again, these asset management companies, all of our, mutual funds and stocks and IRAs and all that are in all these companies. So it's really a monopoly. And I'll break it down here in just a second. So then he said that in the case of one of these firms, it manages, for instance, California's pension fund, the largest in the country. And therefore, California politicians have also said to these corporate governance, and they said that they will not want any investments in gas, oil, or petroleum, okay? This is how stupid California is, okay? This is what they say. The same thing happened in New York under Bill de Blowhard, right? The former governor, Mayor de Blasio, right? And so that's what they do. And then, of course, you have other organizations, right? You have the Human Rights Campaign, which is one of the largest advocacy groups to push for these corporate governances, right? These ESGs, equity or whatever the hell it is, and ESG, yeah, diversity, equity, inclusion, all this bullshit and garbage. They're pushing these companies and corporations into wokeness. Not all these CEOs are woke, but they basically are getting so much funding and they're being coerced into this by the people that own them. So it's not just the Indians and the chiefs here. We have to understand that it's the tribe, basically. The tribe people that run everything are controlling these corporations and letting them know that you are going to go woke. But it's against our policy and our customers hate it. So what? That's the way it's going to be. Unless we do something about it. Or in this case, when Republicans ever gain back power, they do something about it. So I decided to kind of take a look and peek through and see who owns what. And my goodness, it is absolutely terrifying. BlackRock and Vanguard, those are the two largest asset management companies in the entire world. Nobody's even close, okay? Nobody is even close. I'll give you a list, and I'm not going to name all 247 because that's how many there are, companies. I can give you a list of it, and I can put it in the comment section if you want. But I'll just give you the first page, okay, of what BlackRock and Vanguard collectively own major shares in, meaning that they have control over and they have politicking, they have ideological makeup, they have governance of the companies, they have all the ability to control these corporations, okay? These are just some. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, NVIDIA, Alphabet, Tesla, United Healthcare, Meta, Facebook, Berkshire Hathaway, Johnson & Johnson, ExxonMobil, iShares, Visa, JP Morgan Chase, Procter & Gamble, MasterCard, Home Depot, Eli Lilly, Merck & Company, Chevron, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Broadcom, Pfizer, Thermo Fisher Scientific, Cisco Systems, Costco, Texas Instruments, Walmart, McDonald's, Adobe, Salesforce, Accenture, Abbott Laboratories, Bank of America, Let's see, Disney Corporation, Verizon Communications, Comcast, Amgen, let's see, Oracle Corporation, Intel, the United States Postal Service, Qualcomm, Nike, Intuit, Gilead Sciences, Wells Fargo, AT&T, Raytheon, Netflix, Anthem, International Business Machines, IBM, Philip Morris Company, ConocoPhillips, S&P Global, Lowe's, Union Pacific Railroads, Caterpillar, Honeywell, Starbucks, Lockheed Martin, Deere & Company, Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, Boeing, Goldman Sachs, American Express, so many other companies. It's just ridiculous. And that's just the first page. There's over 247. There is a great possibility that every single thing, or close to every single thing in your house, is owned by BlackRock or Vanguard. That's no joke, okay? And the third one is State Street Capital. And they own about 158 other companies. And again, a lot of these are cross-pollination, meaning Vanguard owns some of the same companies, BlackRock owns some of those same companies, State Street Capital owns a portion of some of those same companies, and it's just one giant cluster of companies, asset management companies, that are basically controlling it all. However, we are fighting back. And they are taking notice of the fact that Target is suffering, that Anheuser-Busch is suffering, that Bud Light is suffering, that Kohls is suffering, that Adidas is suffering, that Nike is suffering, that many of these, PetSmart, many of these companies that have gone woke are now suffering from the people that shop at their stores, and they're losing money. Now, this is good because this hurts these asset management companies. But again, there's so much money, over $20 trillion in money here. So what does it really matter? Well, it does matter. And we're slowly fighting back. Is it happening fast and is it happening overnight? Of course not. No. But one organization that's fighting back is called America First Legal. Keep them in your mind and on the tip of your tongue. This is an amazing litigation group around the country that fights for conservative values and fights against wokeness and woke companies. Shareholders join forces with America First Legal, demanding Target produces their books and their records on the LGBT political agenda and the $12 billion market valuation loss. So in other words, shareholders are getting crushed because we are boycotting these companies. So now these shareholders are losing money, so now they're hiring attorneys and they're fighting back. So it's going round and round and round. But eventually, if more of these shareholders do the exact same thing and are represented by lawyers that are actually going to go after them and force them to open up their books, guess what, folks? We can, over time, destroy this woketocracy bullshit that has permeated through corporate America. So, America First Legal, representing the National Center for Public Policy Research, a shareholder of Target, has taken legal action against the Target Corporation, serving a formal demand for the production of corporate books and records. The demand seeks transparency regarding Target's management's radical LGBT political agenda, which appears to have resulted in over $12 billion in decline in market value since just mid-May of 2023, following boycott calls from conservatives and others. America First Legal, on behalf of the NCPPR, a shareholder of Target stock, is demanding records related to the reckless promotion of LGBT products and services and the subsequent decline in market value. Target and its board of directors have failed to uphold their fiduciary duties and should be prepared to explain to their shareholders exactly why they put ideology over shareholder interests, according to the AFL's press release. And guess what? They're not stopping at Target. They're also suing Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light. They are also going after Kohls. They're going after PetSmart. They're going after Nike. They're going after Adidas. They're going after so many other organizations, including banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo was another one that they mentioned, Chase Manhattan. They are going after these woke companies, and AFL is a pretty decent sized law firm. It's not the hugest in the world, but it's a pretty decent size. They've got money, they've got assets, and they have the ability to fight. Now, if we can get something like this on top of maybe Judicial Watch to take on some of the other smaller companies and really go after them, and then maybe find some other conservative-leaning law firms to go after some of the even smaller guys, now all of a sudden we can make a difference. But I will say this. Republicans need to break up Vanguard and BlackRock and even State Street Capital. Those three companies must be broken up. They are a monopoly of leftism. They have over $20 trillion in assets, and they are destroying corporate America and thereby destroying America. Okay? So they need to be disbanded and they need to be broken up. Now, when that can happen, who knows? But isn't it interesting that the left used to be so against Wall Street, right? Rich, fat cat Republicans and conservatives on Wall Street, those big business Republicans, those big business capitalists, right? Well, guess what? Politically now, they're the ones that support big Wall Street, okay? It's completely flipped. It's done a complete 180. Now the left are in bed with the Wall Street firms and the asset management firms. Why? Well, because now they're all communists. That's why. And they apparently don't believe 100% in true capitalism, and instead they believe in what the CCP does. And that is crony capitalism, okay? With communistic elements in it where they are censoring freedom of speech and everything else. The CCP and the Chinese Communist Party are an anomaly, or at least you thought they were an anomaly. Why? Well, because they believe in some aspects of capitalism, but they also believe in censorship and control, which is the complete opposite of that. But this is CCP capitalism. And now CCP capitalism is what permeates this fraudulent, fake government in Washington. And now big business is in bed with big government, and the two of them together are working like communists work with the CCP in China. And yes, we should all be frightened of that. But we also need to continue to fight back, because eventually these companies, if we can fight back enough, they're going to be forced to get rid of their woke bullshit. It may take years, but eventually you won't have these types of things popping up all the time everywhere anymore. And that's only if Republicans have a pair of balls left in all of them when they get back in power to actually break up this three-headed monster monopoly of corporate greed and corporate corruption and leftism. That's what needs to happen. Okay? So I wanted to touch on that because I thought it was pretty important. Nobody's really talking about that. They're just talking about, oh, this company sucks and that company sucks and let's boycott this one and boycott that one. But let's fix the problem. Where does the problem start? As a political surgeon, it's my job to dissect it, find where it's at, and then give you the cure, okay? Give you the treatment, so to speak. And that's what I'm trying to do here, okay? Now, before I go in this segment, because we are a little bit long here, I want to show you something that every single person with a cell phone should be doing, okay? Everyone should be doing this. We have all heard of the great Laura Loomer, right? And when you get caught by her, it's called being, quote, loomered. You remember her. She's the one that put illegal aliens up and did a broadcast right in front of Nancy Pelosi's house with illegal aliens on her property. She's also the one that handcuffed herself to the Twitter building, right? She's run for Congress. They've stolen the seat from her not once but twice because they can't have a real conservative, in Congress and there in Florida. Well, she was at a wedding in Illinois, and she found out that James Edgar Comey was doing a book signing, and incredulously he wrote a crime novel. And guess what Laura did? Well, you don't have to guess. Go ahead and roll this clip.
I've been criticized, and I know you don't know this, but I've been criticized. I thought, do I really want to do that again? And so that's why I kind of kept it quiet while I was working on it. But here's the thing, I know I can write. I mean, I've always loved stories and loved writing, and I've always thought, and I don't believe this, that all good lawyers are great storytellers.
Trial lawyers, certainly.
Yeah.
You may not want a tax lawyer.
I think we all know, James Comey, that you're a great storyteller because you made up the entire story about Crossfire Hurricane. So it's really fitting that a criminal like yourself wrote a crime novel. Do you remember me? Remember me from your book signing? It's really fitting. It takes a criminal to be able to write a crime novel. And you know, John Durham recently said, you talk about being criticized. I'm not afraid to criticize you. You know, you recently, John Durham, his report came out and found that the FBI under your watch acted inappropriately and contrary to fidelity to the law. So I think that your next crime novel should be about a criminal and incompetent FBI director who fed false information to the federal government and the press to stage a coup against a sitting United States president. That's what I think. That's what I think. Why don't you write a crime novel about yourself?
I'm not going to let you speak anymore.
You should write a crime novel about yourself.
I'm not.
Come on.
You've had 5 votes.
It's very true. Time to leave.
He says he likes criticism.
Come on.
Write a crime novel about yourself.
You're not getting anywhere. Get out of here.
It takes a criminal to know a criminal.
You can't just say it.
Get out of here.
Can you tell us why, as a criminal, you open Crossfire Hurricane?
We're not here to see you.
People that can read books, lady.
Oh, I can read. Why don't you read the Durham report? Read the Durham report.
You don't read well.
You don't belong here.
Read John Durham's
Get out
report.
of here. I'm not going to let you talk.
Read John Durham's report, and you'll learn about a real-life criminal. A real-life criminal. A real-life criminal named James Comey. It's not a fiction. It's not a novel. It's a real crime story. You're going to get locked up, Comey. You are a criminal. And when Donald Trump wins in 2024, you're going to jail. You are going to jail, Comey.
You need to leave right now.
No one wants you.
You need to leave.
We need to ask you guys to please leave. No, please don't.
I love your phone.
Please don't touch
Touch her and it's assault.
Please
Just
go.
say no.
Just go. It's time to go.
What a waste.
Bye. It really is time for you to go.
Goodbye.
It's all right. James Comey is the real criminal. The John Durham report is the real crime story you all need to read about. Staging a coup against the sitting United States president. James Comey is a criminal.
Do you have your ID on you by any chance?
Yeah, I have my ID.
Did she commit a crime?
Nope, I didn't say she had to give me.
Then don't give her your ID.
Okay. Well, I do need you to hang out here. I have to see if they want you trespassed. If
She
they
being
want you
detained?
trespassed,
We're leaving right now.
She being detained?
I don't even live here, so.
She being detained?
Right now, until I figure out, yes, until I'm able to.
What
go
crime did she commit?
Well, they wanted her gone, so I have to figure out.
But what crime did she commit for her to be detained?
I can't go talk to them inside. So right
What
now,
crime did she commit for being
I'm
detained?
investigating a crime right now.
What crime?
They called the cops because somebody was causing a disturbance inside and they
No.
wanted her gone. And she
Reiterate,
refused.
what crime? That is not a crime.
It's investigating a crime. Someone
What
can be
crime?
detained if I have reason to believe. I don't
If
know.
you have a crime, what crime did she commit?
Could have called disorderly conduct. She might be trespassing.
Asking questions, freedom of speech and asking questions is sorority. Get your supervisor, please. Get your supervisor. You cannot illegally detain a person for not committing a crime, so I suggest you get your supervisor. What's your badge number?
10352.
Thank you.
He was on stage and I was just sitting and I stood up.
Okay.
And so,
Who is it?
James Comey, you know, the criminal FBI director that staged a coup against Donald Trump. I don't know how political you are, but you know, the John Durham report recently came out and it showed that under James Comey at the FBI and also at the DOJ, they acted, completely inappropriately, contrary to fidelity of the law, in a very partisan manner, and they made up the entire Russia collusion hoax in an effort to stage a coup against Donald Trump.
Doesn't sound like you like him very much.
James Comey? Well, why would anyone like him? He's a
Why
criminal.
would you buy his book?
Well, because I wanted to ask him questions. I want to know, I mean, it's really interesting, right? I mean, as a police officer, don't you think it's kind of interesting that he's writing a crime novel, but I guess you could say, like, it would take a criminal to know a criminal, so it's kind of fitting that he's writing a crime novel.
You are free to go. They don't want you coming back tonight, but it sounds like you said you're from out of town and you're just stopping by anyways, so you're good.
Yeah, I don't even live here. I live in Florida, and like I said, I was just in town for a wedding, and I saw that the criminal former FBI director was in town and decided to...
What's your name, by the way? And your badge number, please.
See,
Sergeant Gibbler,
what was going on,
4957.
Thank you so much.
at his book signing. So it's all on video. Like I said, nobody was assaulted. I just asked a question, and they didn't like it very much.
All right. Well, it sounds like everyone's in agreement that the best option is going to be for...
So I'm not being detained anymore, like the detainment's over?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Have a great...
Is that gorgeous? Is that beautiful? Is that just absolutely incredible? God bless you, Laura Loomer, for doing what you have just done. Thank God there are people with brass balls. Even though you're a female, you have bigger balls than most of the men out there to be able to do something like that. God bless you. Keep fighting. Keep doing it. And anyone with a cell phone, if you find out some leftist piece of shit is in your area promoting something or doing something, get to that event, take your cell phone out, and embarrass the shit out of them. Because you know what? They deserve it. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.